This is in the news update for Friday, July 28th, 2017. Can you believe it already? Man, years are really flown by. But anyway, I want to say, I got the shark attacks going on back there, but anyway, I had to pause it. But I want to say some things. North Carolina residents out on the island on Puget Sound in the Kokomo Island area are being evacuated this morning due to a power outage that's affecting over 7,000 people there that were tourists that were, tourists there that they had to be evacuated because there's no power. They don't know when the power is going to be restored. Now, this is coming from WTVR Channel 6 news crew in Richmond, Virginia. And it says that the power cable might have been cut or spliced during repairs on a bridge that connects the island from the mainland of North Carolina. So some parts of the state of North Carolina are under a state of emergency due to a power outage right now. And they don't know how long that's going to be restored. So they're asking people in the area, if you're going to the area, to just turn around or go to a different area to have your vacation, because they're asking people and the residents in the areas that are affected with the power outage to evacuate the area because there's no power. So, and a lot of other stuff will not be working either in that area. And they don't know how long it's going to be. It could take up to 2 weeks, they're saying, before power is restored back there on the islands and those regions there. It's not the whole state of North Carolina. It's under emergency right now. It's just the Outer Banks, the island area. That area where they were working is somebody spliced into a cable and cut the wire or electricity off to the island region of North Carolina. That's the areas that are being affected by this state of emergency. People that are on the inland still have power. Okay, just want to make that clear. Other stories, there was a shooter incident that took place yesterday. The shooter is still at large, multiple shooting out in Alexandria, Virginia. They're still trying to find this individual, crazy lunatic, going around shooting people. We seem to be having a lot of these kind of crazy things going on because I think these are people that are trying to cause martial law so they come in and take our guns away. I think this may be part of that initiative because we're seeing a lot of these crazy incidences happening all over the United States. And, it could be part of that initiative. And that's what we need to be aware of, but it could be random too. But I think it might have something to do with that also, possibly. Can't rule it out. And then there was a big hack that affected, I said 4,000, but really it was 400,000 people in Europe. It was a big computer breach where people's accounts were literally stolen. And that was in Europe where that happened. So, there was a big security breach happened there. So, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we're hearing more and more about these crimes happening, in a lot of places. And they still haven't fixed the holes in the computers. That's what I keep talking about. And that's how these people are able to steal your money and how they could do it all over the world, because these patches and holes exist in all operating systems of bank software, credit card machines too, and tellers and ATMs. So it's real easy to break into a bank if you really wanted to, because they're not going to fix those holes. And if hackers know about those holes, I'm talking about bad hackers, they could steal literally money anywhere. Because of those holes being there, it gives them the advantage and or the access. And we've talked about this before on other broadcasts, that these holes in the software have to be fixed, but the banks have not done nothing about it. Merchant credit card services have not done nothing about it either. And it's like the holes are there, and they're saying your money's perfectly safe. Well, it's safe until somebody actually goes in there and breaks in and steals it. But that's how they're able to gain access, because they're using the same access points that the government uses. So that's how they're able to gain access. So these holes have got to be fixed, hardware and software. Otherwise, this crime is going to escalate worldwide. And it is starting to pick up in intensity, and this is the reason, largely case, and why. So like I said, patch those holes in the software. Don't ignore what I tell you. Let's go to another story. Nothing to report on the shields today, so I don't know if it's good or bad. If we get back together, I'll definitely report that on the news. That'll definitely be a news story, because that's what I've been hoping for all along. I love those kids very much, more than words could ever say. And I hope I can be back in their lives and in their family unit, because I love them. In spite of what Sean has done to me, I forgive her, and I forgive them, because they were just ill-advised by other people that told them things that weren't true. So, but that's pretty much what I'm going to say about that because it's pretty much what happened. But to another story, uh, they're talking about implanting chips at a company in Wisconsin. Lisa Haven had a story on there that I just put out talking about this is evidence of the mark of the beast. Many people feel like it's a chip. All the Bible does say is it's just going to be a mark that you will have implanted on your hand or on your forehead. It doesn't say it's a chip, but I believe it probably will be in the way of via a chip that will be in your body that will store a lot more than just basic information on it. It'll be a CRFI, it will be a CRFID chip, but it will be able to store a special chip. It will have all your information on it, including your credit cards. So when you go to the bank, all you have to do is hold your hand up or your wrist, and it'll get all the information off of that. And that sounds cool, but it's not really cool because that's the mark of the beast. If you don't have that, you can't buy or sell or operate as a business. And if you do have that in God's eyes, you're an outsider of God. So if you're a Christian, you can't bear the mark of the beast. You have to resist, even if you die to the point, you have to resist this mark being put in your body because that goes against Christ and goes against, that's what the Bible says, not to take the mark of the beast because that is worshiping the beast, which is the mark of the beast is the devil. And that's something that the Christian can't have in her or his body. And that's what this prophecy is talking about, fulfilling. And I believe it really is a computer chip too, like Lisa Haven stated on her podcast. She's right on there. I'm a preacher, and I believe that is really what that will amount to be. And, I'm not worried, but I know, we're near the end. I mean, you see all these crazy things happening, you see some police getting really mean with the public and shooting people, and sometimes they're wrong, but there are sometimes, I at least release some of those police videos off of copblock.com. Some of those videos, the police were actually in the wrong, but there were other videos on there where they were actually right. They were just doing their job. The people didn't resist, so they got shot at. If you don't resist, you have a weapon in your hand, they tell you to put it down. You don't put it down, you're going to get shot at. I don't care who you are. If you have a weapon and they tell you to put it down, to relinquish it, basically. That's what they say in that terminology. You do not resist or do not do what they tell you or comply. That's what their terminology is. Then they have a right to fire on you because if they don't fire on you, they don't think you're going to fire at them and kill them. So they're going to fire on you before you even get a chance to fire. A lot of cases. So if you have a weapon in your hand, I would just put it down or relinquish it. If they're not going to shoot you for no reason. In most cases, unless the cop, there's something wrong with the cop. And sometimes there are something wrong with cops, but most of the time cops are okay. We have a lot of good cops around here in Henrico and all, but there are some crazy ones too. They're everywhere. You got people like that in all types of work, not just in the police, but everywhere. You got people that you might work with in the cubicle next to you that might be a little crazy and a little off in their head, because they got a lot of baggage and they carry a lot of stuff around and they're stressed out because they let all that stuff get to them because they sit around listening to the TV and listening to all the stuff, and that's what puts them in that condition. And they don't get like that overnight. It happens over a long period of time. Maybe they were traumatized as a kid. Maybe they witnessed something, or it's just changed the way they view everybody and how they view everything, so their views become like that, and that's how they're not trusting with people and why they're so uptight and want to lash out and want to make provocations and say slanderous things about people that are just totally not true because they just want to believe what they want to believe instead of listening to what the real truth is. They just want to rule everybody that they're this way. They're a robber, they're a sex predator, or they're they're a violent person, when yet they don't really even know the person. But a lot of people will say a lot of things. They're so quick to do that because they base it on ideas of experience of what they had. It's part of how they base their decisions in the decision-making center in their brain. And see, what you have to realize that you can't base everything all to be the same, like a cookie cutter. I always refer to that. Like everything that we learn and experience, there's two ways that people can approach it. The right way is to look at all the information equally, fairly, and justly. I mean, not just look at it from your experiences that you had in your life as being a person, because we all have had bad experiences with people, and we've all had good experiences more so than bad with people. But we can't just base one thing that somebody does and say that all people fit that mold, because they don't. Because everybody's different, and every situation is always different. And that's how we have to approach it with everything in life. And when we do it, we judge it fairly. That's how you look at it. You don't just say, well, this person is a predator because this, and this, and this, without no facts or without no reason, or you're just saying that because some things might remind you about something that happened to you, or something you saw on TV, or something you heard about, or something you witnessed. But that doesn't mean they're a predator, or it doesn't mean that a person is a bad person. It's just because you're making something up in your mind because it's based on a bad experience that you experienced, or something happened to you, or something that happened to someone else, or you saw on the news. Because you read all that stuff and you get dramatized in it, and you get sucked up in it, get all fired up, and then you form these ideas in your head. And, they call that a memory association. And people do these things because that's all they do. They're traumatized because they're always watching that and talking about it and stirring it up, and they always come up with this one idea that people are always this way because they're different from you, or they don't know you, so they're just going to assume that you're something that you're not, without hardly any facts or any information to back up what they're saying. It's just all in their mind, because their mind's over reactive. It's just wild. And there's just some people that are like that. People like that just need to calm down, because they're going to have a mental breakdown, a nervous mental breakdown. Because that stuff will do that to you, because those type of people always have a lot of chips on their shoulders. They always have a lot on their mind, and they always seem to be really stressed. And they're the kind of people that will just go off on people. They're really sensitive. And some people are sensitive. They're not like that, but you got to watch out when they always seem like they're a little uptight a lot. Especially those kind of people, they're uptight. They got a lot of stress. You got to watch those people, because those are people that will go off in a mail office and start shooting up the place. Those are people that'll go off and make a big scene and, yell and all. If they're all uptight and always have an axe to grind, they're always, saying all kinds of things that are just false or not true about a person, because they're just basing on some experience they had. You're supposed to judge people fairly by all the evidence, not based on your experiences. But see, a lot of people like to put only their experiences in it, on how they see things in reality, instead of looking at the real whole picture of what really is going on in reality. And you have to look at the whole thing, because everybody doesn't fit the same cookie cutter mold, like a lot of people like to teach, in psychology, and even some people are like that in law enforcement. They'll say, well, if they fit a certain profile, then they got to be that, no question about it, or if they act a certain way, that's the way they always are. And that's not always true, because they can be totally wrong, and a lot of times they are. So everybody's different. So everybody shouldn't be judging people and making accusations and stuff until they really have the facts, instead of a lot of gossip and innuendo. And that's not facts. That's just sarcasm. It's just words. There's no proof to it whatsoever. And that's what we have to do with anything. We have to be careful how we handle things as ministers, how we handle things as people in general, when it comes to individuals' lives and their reputation and everything. We have to be careful, because sometimes we can be so mean and hateful, and we can be totally wrong about it. And and then instead of saying sorry when we realize that we were wrong, a lot of times people don't say they're sorry, because that will lose their credibility. That'll lose their standard, because they were wrong, and they don't want to admit it. So they just rather just not say anything more about it and let people just keep on believing what they actually put out there originally about the person, and when it turned out to be totally not true or unfounded, and there was no basis for it. So they don't want to admit to what they did and take responsibility. So that's why I say not everything fits the same cookie mold, cutter mold, like a lot of people like to teach, and a lot of the way it's taught out there, because everybody's situation is really totally different. You can be innocent and be labeled something erroneously without even doing anything, because based on stuff like this, profiling. So that's what I'm saying. So just be careful out there. Be careful when something happens to you. Make sure you weigh all the evidence. Somebody did you wrong, based on what you've seen and what happened, but don't say anything more than what is actually the truth. Don't divulge or say things that you think, because that means you don't know. But go by all the evidence of what you actually heard, saw, and seen what that person has done. And that's how you look at, that's real evidence or real information, But don't say rumors, Document the information. I mean, you should document stuff if you feel like it's necessary to do that. Document. You can't record people in public with audio devices or anything. You have to let them know you're recording them. If you're riding in your car and all that, you got to let them know that you're recording them to document. If you want to take notes of what people say, that's perfectly fine. But, to be recording someone to take notes later, that's actually illegal. Because even if they're riding in your car or even if they're at your home, if you're recording them in your private home or in your car, that's actually against the law. So, I know people will try to do this stuff, but, the judge will just throw all that stuff out because it's inadmissible because you didn't let the person know that you were recording them. And therefore, like, where did you come up with all this information when, how'd you attain it so clearly and all? And it's because you recorded them. That's how. It's not because you got a photographic memory. Lots of people don't have it. Some people do. I do. I don't need a recorder to remember everything. But some people, they will record, and that's illegal. And that's why their notes are so good, because they'll go and record it and then write it down word for word later. And they call that transcript. That's still illegal, because the person always has to know, because I know some people do that. And, now if you can get a crime publicly, like outside, or in the neighborhood, that's perfectly legal to do. You can do that. But if you have somebody in your home and you're doing that, and they don't know about it, and you're recording them, that's against the law. Okay? But in public, or in your car, but outside publicly, like at the store or at the mall, or outside at a park or whatever, and you have your phone or your camera, because everybody's got one, you pull them out and you see a crime happen, you get it all on tape, that's perfectly fine. But you can't be outside people's doors and recording them, like putting a microphone up against the door. Now, if someone was talking out in the breezeways, they had an apartment complex, you could record publicly outside, but not outside their door in their residence. Because when you put it up against the door, that's not public. Now, if someone's talking things outside in the hallway, you can record that, because that's called a public common area. And that's what they call that by law. But when someone's in their apartment and they're talking to themselves, and they're in their private dwelling, they're not outside yelling outside, but you happen to be right there and you get a recorder and you put it up against the door, and you're hearing bits and pieces, or you're listening, or whatever you're doing, trying to take notes or record it or whatever, that's against the law. Okay? They call it peeping Toming or stalking. Okay? But, a lot of people don't know the law. Okay, now I describe these things because this stuff has kind of happened over here where I live with me. People be recording or actually listening outside my door at times, and they get bits and pieces. And it's kind of neat how they know certain things about what I'm doing when yet they don't even have it all right, because that's how they're doing it. See, and, that's what I'm saying. That's how all this stuff escalated the way it did with the Shields family. But, just to give you an idea. But, you have to be careful, because you've got to know what the laws are and know what your rights are when it comes to things like that. Because, if you record publicly out at a park, or in the mall, you can record in public places. But when you're in a private, you're outside someone's door and you have a recorder up against the door recording it, capturing it somehow, that's against the law, because you're listening to what they're saying behind the door. That's not public out in the hallway. Now, if you were yelling really loud and it was out there in the hallway, they could probably record it. But if they're outside your door, up against the door, getting it, that's illegal, because you're listening to somebody's conversation that's private in their dwelling. And usually when people are talking, they're not yelling. I mean, usually when I'm talking out loud with a client or something in here, I'm not yelling. It's just if somebody's recording it outside and they're up against the door, that's how they're getting it. It's not because it was in a public area. They would lie and say, "Oh, it's in a public area." No, it was not. See? So you have to know the laws. You might be in the public area because you're outside, but if they're in their apartment, it's not actually a public area because that's a private conversation. Okay? You're recording it, that's against the law outside their door. That's against the law. Okay? So you have to know what the laws are. And a lot of people don't. So, because I look up this stuff all the time because, a lot of people here get confused on things. Just like people thought I couldn't have a business operating out of here, but you know what? HUD, has changed, and actually you can have a small business operating out of here. I've been doing it for 6 years. That's the Silva's Media, and there's also a church here, New Hunter Church of Christ, and that brings us up to point. You have to. You really, we ask that you really help us out. If you can help financially, any kind of donation you can give would actually be really appreciative this time. You see all those clothes hanging up there on that divider there? That's because I can't afford to wash my clothes. I have to wash them by hand. That's how tight my money is, and I don't have a lot of money, and that's the truth. So, if I was here trying to support my lifestyle, or I was trying to get everybody to pay all my bills, believe me, I wouldn't need you all to help me. So I want to say, please, make a donation if you can of any size. Doug stepped up to the plate and gave $80 this month. Maybe a few of you all charitable people can also give something too, so we can continue to broadcast and stream all those wonderful in the news updates and New Hunter Church of Christ services and all the other things you see with Alex Jones and InfoWars on their channels and on Facebook and on Google Plus and Pinterest and everywhere else. Please, help us out in that regard because it's not really free. You can watch it for free, but it's not really free. And realize that people need to get paid a fair wage for what they do because, everything I'm doing is free, but it does cost money to do this. So hope that people can understand that and kind of formulate that and realize that, hey, we need to help this dude because he does give us a lot of good information. And I hope that I do because I do talk about a lot of wide variety of topics because, there's a lot of things to talk about. Because that's the way it is now these days. It's a whole lot of junk going on. But anyway, people are getting ready and gearing up for the eclipse on August the 21st next month. It's just around the corner. And the most prominent spot will be Oregon, where we gave that story about where the lights will be off for weeks and the water and everything will be off because there'll be such a drain and demand on internet and everything. It'll be shut down for weeks and weeks because they'll have to repair it. That's crazy. You live in a country like this, it's rich and it's got all kinds of things, supposedly. You think they would have redundant systems to handle the influx of 40,000 people coming to their area. And you're saying Oregon can't handle those demands? That sounds a little strange. In this modern day we live in, you think they would have things in place to handle all that traffic coming out there, But, it just sounds a little strange. But I wanted to tell you though, that's a resource lady from the office. Her name is Louie Gonzalez. She's a real nice lady. She's put something on the door. I think it's probably the next month's calendar of events that are scheduled. We have events that come out on the counters and there has everything in there. Like the Way's coming. It comes 2 times every month, every other week. And then of course we donate stuff to that bank too. So I've got a lot of stuff here to bring over there. I've just been so busy doing a lot of things. And, a lot of dry stuff, like boxes, like stuffing and things like that. So I'll be bringing that over there coming up in the next couple days. Severe weather. This is something to talk about. Severe weather. Today, possibly in some areas, might see some severe weather. There'll be some strong thunderstorms today. So be aware of that situation. Just be advised in the area. Don't cancel your plans. Just keep your plans, but keep your ears and eyes to the skies today, because these storms will be more numerous today, and there's a marginal risk. It was enhanced, but it went down to a marginal risk for the whole state of Virginia and parts of North Carolina. And like we said, North Carolina is not under it's not under a full state of emergency. Only the Outer Banks are of North Carolina. That's where the power outage is. In the interior parts of the mainland of North Carolina, they have power. Where my mother is and all, they have power. But all the places of tourism on the coast don't have power. That's why they're asking people to evacuate. That's why that went out. And that's the area that's under a state of emergency in North Carolina. So pay attention to that, and be advised to go to like Virginia Beach, or that's a good place to go. Or you can go to South Carolina, or Georgia or Florida. That's a great place to go to have a beach getaway. It's summertime fun. It's a little further, but hey, stay a few more days. There's no school. Why not? Take the kids, take the whole family, and make a journey out of it. It'll be an exciting, awesome adventure and create memories for all y'all. And hopefully everybody has a wonderful time today. It's not going to be this hot today. It's only going to be in the upper 70s or lower. No, it's going to be in the lower middle 80s today here in Mechanicsville. So, we're having a really nice fall-like kind of weather. That's what it seems like that, because that's how it gets late fall. It feels like that. Normally we don't get weather like this, but this is a blessing. So Saturday and Sunday is only going to be in the upper 70s here. That's it. And for highs, and it's going to be in upper 50s in some places in Virginia over the weekend for lows. So you can open up those windows. So that's a good thing. For Saturday and Sunday coming up this weekend, that's the day after it's tomorrow and Sunday. And then it's going to warm back up gradually every day next week until we get to 91 on Thursday, and it's going to be in the middle of the night. We'll be back in the microwave sauna again of July, summer, and going into August, because next week actually is August. So rent, it will be due on the 5th. You have till the 5th to turn your rent in over here. Actually, they say in the lease it's on the 1st, but they give you a grace period of 4 extra days, so it's really due on the 5th. So you can get it in anywhere on the 5th or before, and you're okay. After that fact, after 5 o'clock, if you don't have it in, well, then you're late. So make sure you're attentive to that, because next week is August, and this month went by fast. Actually, this whole year's gone by fast, hasn't it? But it has. So anyway, just want to let you know, be careful. The sun is doing some weird stuff. I noticed some of the trees out here, some of the leaves on the trees are burnt around the edges, and it's because the ozone is getting thinner. And I believe that's what's causing that. A lot of scientists are saying that too, and I've seen the evidence here in Harbor Square. That's not because they're not feeding the trees or watering the trees. I know we've had a lot of rain. It's been a little dry, but the leaves literally are really burning. You can see where they have actually burned. Because if they dry, they'll be brown, but they're black. That's burning. That's from the sun doing that. We've had a lot of unusual activity with the sun, and it's knocked out a lot of high frequency and radio communications in a lot of places all around the globe, and affected other systems. It's just a lot of the internet's been going in and out some too this month because of the activity. And a lot of people don't know that. They just think there's something wrong with their internet. And there is, because the sun, CMEs and all, the coronal dejections and all, or what are messing with it. So just be aware of that. Your internet might go out, not because you didn't pay the bill, but it may go out because of some of this stuff that's taking place in the heavens. Because it does affect a lot of things here on Earth, pretty much everything on Earth, including people and animals too. So be aware of that. If fish come around acting more aggressive than usual, it may have something to do with the magnetic field. It has a lot to do with that. And why people are acting a certain way too may have something to do with that too, because we're all are affected by that magnetic field that goes around the whole entire globe, that surrounds the Earth. It does affect us mentally, emotionally, and mood-wise too. So just be aware of that. And there's a lot of weird things. There's some things going on with that as well. Let's say some experts think that a gravitational pull or gravitational shift with the Earth's axis, the magnetic field, they say that could happen any time because they're long overdue for one. But you got to realize when this stuff happens, it doesn't happen real quick. It happens gradually. And that may be why we're having all this strange weather and everything, because it's actually doing that right now. Because usually when the magnets shift, there is going to be some major earthquakes and a lot of things happening. That's why they're increasing a lot in the Yellowstone and everything, because it may have something to do with this polar reverse of magnetivity to re-strengthen the magnetic field around the Earth. So this is all not just hocus pocus. This is real science, real information. So that may be what's affecting a lot of things. So be aware of that. And make sure you wear a lot of sunscreen when you go outside. Recommend it organic. Make sure you get it from AlexJonesInfowars.com or natural stores where it's sold. Don't buy it at Walmart, because sometimes they can put an organic on something and it's not organic. Make sure you read the ingredients. If you can't understand the ingredients on there, then it's not organic. Organic will use ingredients that you can understand. If it has scientific names and they say it's organic, it's not organic, trust me. because they don't use scientific names when you're using natural products. Usually sunscreen that's organic is made of fruit extracts and oils. And there's oils that you can understand, and fruit extracts that help protect the skin from the A and B harmful rays of the sun because of lack of ozone that's in the sky, lesser. There's ozone definitely up there still, but it's less today than it has been for a long time. It's actually thinner, so that's why it's more important if you're going to be outside for a long time to definitely put on some sunscreen, because more and more people are getting cancer, skin cancer, and that's usually a precursor, because the ozone layer is not as thick as it should be, and it's very thin. So just be aware of that. All right, this is in the news update. Michael DeSilva's in the news center. Have a good day and have a good Friday weekend. And be careful out there, and always keep your eyes to the skies and keep your nose to the ground and know what's going on. So Michael DeSilva signing off for DeSilva's Media in the news segment for Friday, July 28th, 2017. Take care.